For masturbation mistakes that are numbing your penis, most men don't realize until it's too late. He was 72 years old, fit, active, and still enjoying a fulfilling sex life. But one morning, he woke up to a frightening and deeply personal nightmare. There was no pain, no pressure, and no sensation at all. His penis was completely numb. No arousal, no response, just a cold silence where feeling used to live. It wasn't a side effect from medication. It wasn't the result of a diagnosable disease. It wasn't something anyone had warned him about. It was the result of something he'd been doing privately for decades, something he assumed was harmless, even healthy: masturbation. This is the true and troubling reality that Dr. James, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience, has encountered again and again in his work with older male patients. While most people assume sexual health issues later in life are due to aging or hormonal changes, Dr. James reveals a much more insidious and overlooked threat: the way men masturbate. For years, many men develop habits in isolation, tactile routines that feel comforting, effective, or simply familiar. But few realize that the very methods they use to feel more may slowly be eroding their ability to feel anything at all. Penile numbness is a silent condition, creeping in over time until one day, like that 72-year-old man, you wake up and something just isn't right. No warning, no external trauma, just a fading of sensitivity that strikes at the core of one's sexual identity. The real tragedy isn't just the loss of sensation, but the silence surrounding it. No one teaches men how to touch themselves safely as they age. There are no guidebooks for preserving nerve health or circulation in the genital area. So, most men continue doing what they've always done, unaware that time and habit are working against them. Dr. James emphasizes that this is not about shame or blame. It's about education, about helping men understand that their bodies change, and those changes demand new approaches. The techniques that worked at May 25 become harmful at 65. And when no one talks about it, men are left to silently suffer, ashamed, confused, and disconnected from their partners and even from themselves. But knowledge is power. By understanding the risks and recognizing the signs early, men can take control of their sexual health. They can prevent the irreversible damage caused by outdated habits and learn safer, more supportive practices. This is not the end of intimacy, it's a call to transform it. A chance to reframe pleasure as something that adapts with the body rather than works against it. That morning of numbness doesn't have to be a sentence. It can be a wake-up call. And for many men, it's the beginning of healing, not the end of desire. At first glance, masturbation seems like one of the most natural, harmless acts, something private, personal, even beneficial. But according to Dr. James, a seasoned men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience, what's often seen as a harmless routine may, in fact, be silently harming older men in ways they don't realize until it's too late. As men age, their bodies naturally undergo changes, nerve endings become more delicate, blood circulation slows, and tissue elasticity decreases. But while these changes are inevitable, the damage caused by incorrect masturbation habits is not. Unfortunately, most men are never taught how to adapt their sexual behaviors to match their aging physiology. The danger lies not in the act itself, but in how it is performed over time. Many older men unknowingly develop habits, such as excessive grip strength, poor posture, or overstimulation with pornography, that slowly impair their body's natural sensitivity and response systems. These habits build up microdamage in the penile tissue, restrict blood flow, and dull the neural pathways that are responsible for arousal and pleasure. The process is gradual, nearly invisible, which is why it often goes unnoticed. A man might feel fine for years, until one day he realizes that arousal takes longer, climax feels muted, and intimacy no longer stirs the excitement it once did. By then, the damage may already be substantial. What makes the situation more troubling is the silence surrounding it. There is virtually no public education about how masturbation habits should evolve with age. Society often treats male sexuality as either taboo or unchanging. But the truth is, just like joints, muscles, and eyesight, sexual function needs to be maintained with awareness and care. Without this knowledge, men continue to use techniques that were once effective in youth, unaware that these very techniques may now be harming their bodies. The tragedy is not just physical numbness, but emotional detachment, from oneself, from one's partner, and from a vital part of personal identity. Dr. James is adamant that this isn't about morality or shame, it's about informed self-care. Understanding how age affects the male body, and adjusting accordingly, can mean the difference between a fulfilling sex life and a silent decline. The key lies in shifting from mechanical stimulation to mindful engagement, from intense, rushed habits to slower, gentler approaches that support long-term nerve and vascular health. Awareness is the first step, but change is the true solution. Men don't have to accept diminished pleasure as a consequence of age. They don't need to feel embarrassed or resigned. Instead, they can learn, adapt, and restore their connection to their bodies. It begins with realizing that what once worked may no longer serve them, and that evolving with the body is not a sign of weakness, but wisdom. In the hands of knowledge, healing and satisfaction are not only possible, they are well within reach. As men grow older, they expect certain things to change: slower metabolism, graying hair, a few more aches and pains. But one change that catches many off guard is a quiet, creeping loss of sexual sensation. For some, it begins as a subtle delay in arousal, for others, a weakened erection, or a climax that feels strangely muted. Many men write it off as just getting older, or worse, a personal failing they're too ashamed to talk about. But according to Dr. James, a veteran men's health expert with over 3 decades of clinical experience, this isn't just aging, it's the result of years of hidden, harmful habits. Specifically, for common masturbation mistakes that most men don't even realize they're making. These mistakes aren't acts of recklessness or indulgence. They're habits developed in privacy, often with the best intentions, like trying to feel more in a body that feels less. But over time, they backfire, damaging the very systems that once delivered pleasure, intimacy, and confidence. Fortunately, once you know what these mistakes are, you can stop the damage and begin to restore what was lost. The first and perhaps most common mistake is using too much pressure during masturbation, what some medical professionals refer to as the death grip. This typically begins as a way to feel more. Maybe arousal doesn't come as easily as it used to, so a man tightens his grip, adds pressure, or increases speed. At first, it seems to help. But with repetition, this intense stimulation becomes the only kind the body responds to. Over time, the tight grip causes microtrauma to the penile tissue. The delicate nerve endings become overwhelmed and gradually lose their ability to register pleasure. Blood vessels are also compressed, reducing the flow of oxygen and nutrients. The result? A slow decline in sensation. Erections become weaker, arousal takes longer, and climax feels distant. The man may think it's low testosterone or aging, but in truth, he's trained his body to need an unnatural level of intensity. Dr. James emphasizes that healing starts by loosening the grip, slowing down, and using lubrication to reduce friction. It's also important to shift the focus from mechanical stimulation to whole-body awareness. By retraining your body to respond to gentler, more natural sensations, you can reverse some of the numbness and reconnect with authentic pleasure. The second mistake is psychological but just as destructive: chronic overuse of pornography. In today's digital age, men, especially older men, are often exposed to highly stimulating adult content that didn't exist in their younger years. The endless novelty, extreme scenarios, and fast-paced edits found in modern porn hijack the brain's reward system. What used to bring pleasure now demands constant escalation just to maintain the same level of arousal. This is known as desensitization. Dopamine, the brain's chemical for pleasure and motivation, floods during porn viewing, but with overexposure, the receptors become dull. Real-life intimacy starts to pale in comparison. The touch of a partner doesn't spark excitement like it used to. Emotional connection no longer triggers desire. The brain is now conditioned to respond to pixels rather than people. Even worse, the damage isn't just mental. Sexual performance is a coordination between brain signals, blood flow, nerve sensitivity, and muscle response. When the brain's arousal pathways are dulled, the body can't respond as strongly. Erections weaken, climax becomes elusive, and penile sensation fades. Dr. James recommends taking breaks from porn, sometimes for weeks or even months. Instead, engage in slower, more mindful touch without visual stimulation. This dopamine reset allows the brain to recover and re-establish its connection to natural sources of pleasure. It's not about shame. It's about reclaiming your ability to feel. Masturbation, like any physical activity, requires recovery, especially as the body ages. But this is a step many men overlook. As energy decreases and circulation weakens with age, the tissues and nerves in the pelvic region need even more support to stay healthy. Yet many older men continue the same frequency and intensity of masturbation they had when they were 20, without making time to move, stretch, or hydrate. Without proper recovery, the body struggles to circulate blood effectively through the pelvic floor. This leads to a condition called penile hypoxia, a lack of oxygen in the tissue. Over time, this can cause the smooth muscle inside the penis to deteriorate, nerves to lose function, and even tissue atrophy. The symptoms start subtly: slower arousal, longer refractory periods between erections, and reduced sensitivity. Eventually, they can result in complete numbness or sexual dysfunction. Making time for recovery doesn't mean stopping sexual activity. It means balancing it with healthy movement and care. Dr. James encourages simple practices like daily walking, deep breathing, hydration, and pelvic floor exercises, like Kegels. These help improve blood flow and maintain the strength and responsiveness of erectile tissue. Masturbation should be an act of care, not depletion. The final mistake is so subtle most men never think of it: posture. Specifically, the way you sit while masturbating. Many older men spend large portions of their day seated, working at a desk, driving, or relaxing in a recliner. When they masturbate in these same slouched or compressed positions, it puts significant pressure on the nerves and blood vessels that serve the pelvic region. Sitting for long periods, especially in positions that curve the spine and fold the hips, restricts blood flow to the genitals. Worse, it compresses the pudendal nerve, the major nerve responsible for genital sensation. Repeated compression can cause long-term nerve damage, known as pudendal nerve entrapment, which can result in chronic pelvic pain, numbness, or erectile dysfunction. Men may not notice the damage right away. But over months and years, this habit builds up until the loss of sensation becomes noticeable, and sometimes irreversible. The key to preventing this lies in better ergonomics. Dr. James advises sitting in a chair with proper lumbar support, keeping the spine upright and the hips open. He also recommends switching positions frequently and avoiding prolonged pressure on the perineum. Standing or lying down flat during masturbation is healthier for circulation and nerve health. These four mistakes: overgripping, overstimulation from porn, ignoring recovery, and poor posture, form a dangerous combination. Left unchecked, they chip away at one of the most personal and meaningful aspects of a man's life: his ability to feel, to connect, and to experience intimacy. But Dr. James wants men to know that this decline isn't inevitable. In fact, the body, even in its later decades, is remarkably adaptable. With awareness and simple changes, men can restore much of what they've lost. Start by loosening your grip. Use lubricants. Be gentle. Then, reevaluate your relationship with pornography. Is it serving you, or numbing you? Give your body rest between sessions. Move more. Stretch daily. Hydrate. And above all, consider how you sit, not just during masturbation, but throughout your day. Most importantly, stop blaming age. While some decline is natural, much of what men experience is preventable and even reversible. What's needed isn't medication, surgery, or shame, it's knowledge, and a willingness to treat your sexuality with care, respect, and wisdom. This is not about giving something up. It's about embracing a new way forward, one where pleasure deepens, connection strengthens, and confidence returns. It's never too late to feel alive again. For many older men, the first signs are subtle. Perhaps climax feels less satisfying, or it takes longer to get aroused. Maybe touch doesn't excite the way it used to, or the recovery time between erections seems to stretch longer than before. These changes are easy to dismiss as just aging. But as Dr. James explains, age isn't the villain, it's the habits we carry with us that often do the most damage. The good news? Those same habits can be changed. And in that change lies not just the potential for physical recovery, but emotional restoration as well. Throughout his years of practice, Dr. James has seen countless men regain their sexual vitality, not through drugs or drastic procedures, but through simple, powerful shifts in awareness and daily behavior. These are men who, once plagued by numbness, insecurity, and distance from their partners, found a path back to intimacy by learning to treat their own bodies with respect, gentleness, and understanding. The foundation of this healing is awareness. The truth is, most men never received any guidance on how to care for their sexual health as they age. They are often left to navigate this deeply personal terrain alone, in silence, and in shame. But once they understand the root causes, overgripping, porn-induced overstimulation, lack of recovery, and poor posture, they can begin to reverse the damage. What follows is not only a recovery of sensation, but of confidence, masculinity, and connection. Let's revisit the mistakes briefly. Overgripping wasn't born out of recklessness, but from a genuine desire to feel more. With less sensitivity than before, men often tighten their grip during masturbation without realizing that this very act is dulling the nerves they rely on for pleasure. Replacing this with a gentler touch, using lubrication, and slowing down can begin the healing process. The body remembers how to feel, it simply needs to be given the right conditions. The second mistake, reliance on pornography, is especially deceptive. Today's porn is fast-paced, intense, and overstimulating in a way that trains the brain to expect extremes. Over time, the dopamine system becomes desensitized, and the body stops responding to real-world intimacy. A partner's touch no longer excites. The warmth of emotional closeness becomes ineffective in generating arousal. But there is hope. By taking a break from pornography, even for just a few weeks, and focusing on non-visual forms of self-pleasure, many men report a profound return of their natural arousal system. The brain, like the body, can heal when given the chance. The third mistake, ignoring recovery, highlights an essential truth about the aging body: it needs time, movement, and nourishment. Just as you wouldn't run every day without rest or hydration, you can't expect your pelvic region to function optimally without care. Poor circulation starves the penis of the oxygen and nutrients it needs, leading to hypoxia and eventual tissue decline. Gentle walking, pelvic floor exercises, deep breathing, and hydration can all help restore this essential blood flow. By building recovery into your routine, you're not being weak, you're being wise. Then there's the fourth, often overlooked mistake: posture. The way you sit affects more than your back. It impacts the nerves and vessels that supply the genitals. Slouching in a recliner, sitting for hours in a soft chair, or folding your legs tightly while masturbating, all of these restrict blood flow and compress the pudendal nerve, which is vital for sexual sensation. Simply changing how and where you sit can drastically alter your pelvic health. Use firm chairs, support your lumbar spine, avoid long periods of pressure on the perineum, and occasionally stand or lie flat when engaging in sexual activity. But understanding these mistakes is just the beginning. True change comes from action, and from the belief that change is possible. Many men feel discouraged, believing it's too late to reclaim what they've lost. Dr. James wants them to know, it's not. Your body, even at 60, 70, or beyond, remains adaptable. Your nerves can recover. Your blood vessels can strengthen. Your brain can relearn how to feel pleasure. The restoration journey begins with a shift in mindset. Instead of chasing performance, pursue connection. Instead of rushing to climax, slow down and explore sensation. Instead of using porn to escape, use presence to engage. This isn't about stopping pleasure, it's about transforming it into something more sustainable, more fulfilling, and more aligned with who you are today. In fact, Dr. James emphasizes that healing your sexual self isn't just about the body, it's about identity. For many men, declining sexual function strikes at the heart of their confidence and masculinity. It creates emotional distance in relationships. It causes quiet anxiety, frustration, and even depression. But when sensation begins to return, when erections strengthen, climax intensifies, and touch becomes pleasurable again, a deeper transformation takes place. Confidence grows. Emotional walls come down. And intimacy feels not just possible, but deeply rewarding. What men discover on this journey isn't just a return to youth. It's the discovery of a new kind of pleasure, one rooted in presence, patience, and self-respect. It's the realization that masculinity isn't defined by performance, but by how we treat ourselves and those we love. And it's the comfort of knowing that even in a world full of noise, overstimulation, and disconnection, you can always come home to your body, and find peace there. So, where do you begin? Start small. Loosen your grip. Sit up straighter. Drink more water. Walk a little each day. Turn off the screen and turn your attention inward. These may seem like minor shifts, but over time, they compound into a powerful new reality, one where you feel alive, connected, and whole. You are not broken. You are not finished. You are simply being invited to evolve, to write a new chapter in your story as a man, a partner, and a human being. And if you take that first step today, there's no telling how much joy, confidence, and vitality may be waiting just around the corner. If you have heard this far, it means something inside you has stirred. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's recognition. Maybe it's hope. And that's the most important part. Because right now, you're standing at the beginning of a new chapter, not the end of your sexual story, but the beginning of healing, restoration, and deeper connection. For years, many older men have silently endured the slow erosion of sexual sensation, believing it was simply part of aging. They watched as pleasure faded, intimacy became a struggle, and confidence quietly slipped away. Some blamed their hormones. Others thought they were alone. But as Dr. James has shown, much of what's happening isn't inevitable, it's the result of habits that no one ever warned you about. And now that you know, you have power again. You have a choice. These 4 mistakes, overgripping, overstimulation from pornography, ignoring recovery, and bad posture, have silently worked against the very systems that allow you to feel, connect, and enjoy. But none of this is beyond repair. Your body is incredibly adaptive. Even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, your nerves can awaken, your circulation can improve, and your mind can relearn what real pleasure feels like. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. But it does happen. Small, consistent changes, loosening your grip, sitting correctly, taking breaks from screens, moving your body, staying hydrated, compound into real results. The tingling begins to fade. The sensation slowly returns. Erections feel firmer. Touch becomes electric again. It's not just physical, it's emotional. You begin to feel like yourself again, maybe even better than you have in years. And it's not just about you. As you heal, your relationships often heal too. Intimacy no longer feels like pressure. It becomes play, discovery, connection. Your partner notices the change, not just in the bedroom, but in how you carry yourself, how you engage, how you show up emotionally. This journey isn't selfish, it's deeply loving. When you reclaim your pleasure, you become more present for those you love. So here's the invitation, start today. You don't need a prescription or a clinic visit to begin. You just need honesty, courage, and commitment. Look at your habits with fresh eyes. Ask yourself what serves you, and what silently harms you. Make one change this week. Then another next week. This is how lasting transformation begins, step by step, with compassion, not judgment. You are not powerless. You are not too old. You are not alone. You are capable of more than you've been led to believe. So breathe deep. Stand tall. And take that first step, not with fear or regret, but with clarity and pride. This is your body. This is your pleasure. This is your life. And it's time to honor it. Now, Dr. James wants to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned from this message? What's one habit you're willing to change? Leave a comment, share your insight, and let's support each other. Because when men begin to speak up, heal, and reconnect with themselves, everyone benefits: families, relationships, communities. Your best years are not behind you. They're still unfolding, stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever.